Hi, Tony. Thank you for taking the time today to discuss a little bit more on your book, Winning by God's Design.
Kathy, it's a pleasure to be here.
As I was reading through the book, you really focused a lot about the unrest in today's world, with the many discussions and, quite frankly, debates out there. The word of racism gets thrown around quite a bit. And you note in your book, Winning by God's Design, that the world's instability today is really not new. It's the same as it was hundreds of years ago when the Bible was written. Can you really share more with your listeners today?
Well, one of my favorite stories that I tell people when they talk about the good old days, and people my age will talk about, quote unquote, the good old days or the way things used to be. And I'd say, do you realize that the pilgrims used to carry guns to church? And you see many paintings of the pilgrims where they're going to church. They got their Bible under one arm and they got a blunderbuss under the other. And I don't think today, even in the worst neighborhoods, people are carrying guns to church, at least by and large. So it just goes to show you that this stuff has been happening forever with a crazy world. And, people tend to say that things are much worse than they ever were, or they tend to say that, I don't want to be in a particular fearful situation because something might happen to me. I think, and we were talking about this earlier, where there used to be a couple years back that was terrified about going on a plane. They didn't want to die in a plane crash, and they were so fearful of it. One night, a plane crashed in their house and killed them. They didn't even have to get on a plane. So there's really nothing new under the sun. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when I was in grade school and a president of the United States was assassinated and killed. I didn't fully grasp all of that then. I grasp a lot more of that now. I'm old enough to remember when there were major race riots in this country, and every single city, with the exception of New York, had severe damage due to racial disharmony that went on for days. So what we're seeing now, I think, Fred Price used to say this, I think correctly, years back, that the devil's got no new tricks, he just flavors them differently. This is just another flavor. It's all proceeding to its intended design of what's in the Bible, but there's nothing's worse now or really better now than it was. It's just different.
Exactly. No, I definitely agree with you with that sentiment. As I was reading more, and of course I can relate to this because I have young adult children, and they sometimes come across feeling like, we owe them, or the world owes them, whether it's living a home, wealth. They should have a car, the best car, without really putting in the hard work that it took many of us to get what we have today, or having faith that in time those things will happen. You tell us that what we're facing today is not unique to God. He's got a plan. It's happened.
Well, yes.
Can you relate a little bit more to the young adults?
Well, and I'm in a funny situation where I have not been around or was not around a lot of young adults until the passing of my first wife, and now I've got young adults all over the place. Just in the endeavors of what we're doing in my main business and in doing this and in doing the broadcasting. And the thing which I tell them constantly is the worst thing that could happen to you is to fall off into the clutches of the system. If you feel entitled, then you'll find yourself under some sort of a benefit program, and you'll never, ever, ever, ever get to anywhere because the system somehow will figure out a way to sustain you. And when that happens, you lose all initiative, you lose all drive. You don't have any sense of any worth whatsoever, certainly no sense of achievement. And the other thing is, when young people are getting out of college, the first thing is, well, I got to get a job. Now that's good because a job trains you, it educates you, it teaches you to be disciplined. But there's a job, and then there's the system, and there's a system of being lazy, and there's a system of being industrious. And what I like to teach young people is how to get out and away from the system, because once the system has you, it's never going to let you get ahead. It's never going to let you prosper. You're going to get a raise and something's going to break. You're going to figure out a way to make more money, and then some other demand will take place. And you'll never get to a point of having economic freedom where you could be a blessing to others and a blessing to yourself, and then to really do something for the benefit of those around you, and for Christians and for good people everywhere. That's what I like to teach. So it's the whole thing of staying away from the system and it's, again, we've discussed this. It is not a popular concept, because the world likes to be dependent on the system, because the world's often afraid, and I say the world in the biblical sense, and I say the church world. The church world loves the system by and large, because the system is predictable. There are pastors in churches where everybody's working at the factory, and they know they can predict by how well that factory's doing how the church revenues are going to be based on the tithes. It's happened time and time and time and time again, but yet it's not necessarily the best for every person. It's nothing wrong with having a job and retiring with a great pension. That's great. It's just that's getting away from us in this culture, whether we realize it or not. And when you come down to what God wants for his children, is he wants them to be free from all systems and all bondages. Not saying don't get a job, but what it is saying is look at alternative ways from setting yourself apart from the economic system, which sadly, as I say in the book, is presided over by the devil. God owns the property, but the devil owns the financial system.
That's an interesting way to look at it, but how would we get young people today to realize that faith is such a strong part of moving away from that system?
You have to start with a very small beginning. You have to start with a very small beginning and say, now do this. And try it until you get it right. Okay, you want to have a small business, start with a little cart somewhere and use the little cart and build that. Now you're getting really good at it, you're getting a following. Try a storefront. You have to build small successes. Not try to hit yourself on the head and try to do everything all at once. You're probably going to fail if you do that, but you have to start with really what I like to call a manageable bites approach. You have to do it very small.
And have faith
that something will work. And really, it's almost like faith with training wheels until you can let your faith go.
Mm-hmm. Good. In reading your book, you pointed out several biblical verses that really demonstrates how we were created in God's image and really designed to win. Are there one or two of those that really stand out to you as a Christian man yourself?
Well, you have a lot of Christians that run around with quoting the book of Philippians, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. No, you can't. You cannot. If you go back and you read the context of what Paul was saying, he was saying that in the context of, if I can do this, I can do anything. Like, he's been through a really rough period of stress in his life, and then he says, okay, I know God can make me do anything within a context, but I can't do a brain operation. I'm not a brain surgeon. I can't fly a plane. I'm not an airline pilot. So we have to understand our human limitations, but with that, we have to understand our blessings and our unique characteristics that God gave us to do our particular thing. Now, with that, we are fearfully and wonderfully made, as we say in the book. We're, nothing could be made like us. We can't be duplicated. But yet, we're frail in our flesh. At one point, Paul, the apostle, gets very frustrated and says, who will free me from this wicked body of death? Bodies, they get sore, they get tired, they get headachy, they don't work all the time, the stomachs get upset, the eyes get bloodshot. And just to know that, we're not super people. We can do all things within a realm of our context, but we have to take care of ourselves and to do better. The other thing is to do better within ourselves. The other thing that I want to say is we all matter. It's God loves each and every single one of us equally. The Black Lives Matter movement, well, that's great. White lives matter too, and so do Asian lives and Indian lives. Everything matters to God. If we could see this across the board and appreciate it for one another. Even in the church, we've got racism in the church. Martin Luther King used to say, and he was absolutely right, that the worship hour in America is the most segregated hour ever within the history of any one given week. If we could get to that point of just understanding and appreciating the fact that we're different, but yet we're similar and we have a common goal, there'd be no stopping us. There really wouldn't.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you for taking some time and delving a little bit deeper into the book that you've written and sharing with us.
And thanks, Kathy. And I want to thank all the people out there who are reading the book and who are coming to us and asking for copies. Just to be clear, I'm not a preacher. I'm not a minister. I'm not I'm not a prophet. This is not a profit-making endeavor for me. I want to get this information out. It's not always popular, but it's certainly necessary. For those that buy my book, that make the purchase on Amazon Kindle, the proceeds of that go to my charity, Fiduciary Elder Care Services, to help the elderly. So this is not a profit-making endeavor. I'm not looking to sell 1 million copies and be selling books all over the place. I want to be disseminating information and teaching wherever God would have me able and ready, and for those that have ears to hear.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.